the headlines for this hour on VTV News. Vietnam-Burundi seeks stronger friendship and cooperation. And Vietnam proposes US tax postponement for trade talks. A 170 giant tortoise released on Galapagos Islands.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. State President Lương Cường hosted a welcoming ceremony for visiting Burundian counterpart Evariste Ndayishimiye in Hanoi on Friday. The two leaders then held talks exploring ways to strengthen friendship and cooperation between their countries.
State President Lương Cường welcomed Burundian President Evariste Ndayishimiye and his wife on their first official visit to Vietnam. The visit marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries and Vietnam's upcoming anniversaries of national reunification and independence. State President Lương Cường highlighted the visit's significance in strengthening bilateral ties. Both leaders discussed enhancing friendship and cooperation, particularly in investment, agriculture, mining, science and technology, and digitalization. They also agreed to explore opening diplomatic offices in each other's countries and increasing exchanges of high-level delegations. The success of the Viettel telecommunications joint venture in Burundi was noted as a positive example of bilateral economic cooperation. The leaders agreed to further collaborate in agriculture and improve legal frameworks to support this. State President Lương Cường also expressed hope that Burundi would continue to support Vietnamese businesses, particularly in telecommunications. Both presidents emphasized the importance of cooperation at international forums and agreed on supporting Ann's stance on peaceful resolutions of East Sea disputes. After the talks, the two presidents witnessed the signing of two cooperation documents, a framework agreement on cooperation between the two governments, and a memorandum of understanding on the establishment of the political and diplomatic consultation mechanism.
Continuing his official visit to Vietnam, Burundian President Evariste Ndayishimiye held talks with Party General Secretary Tô Lâm and Prime Minister Phie and visited Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum on April 4th.
During the talk, party leader Tô Lâm affirmed that Vietnam values its friendship and cooperation with African nations, including Burundi, and seeks to advance bilateral cooperation in key sectors such as investment, agriculture, mining, technology, digitalization, and leadership training. For his part, Ndayishimiye expressed his admiration for Vietnam's dynamic development and sought to learn from its experience in rapid and sustainable growth. He emphasized Burundi's interest in expanding cooperation with Vietnam, particularly in investment, agriculture, and education.
At the meeting with the Burundian President, Prime Minister Phie welcomed Ndayishimiye's visit and noted that Vietnam's cooperation with African countries, including Burundi, has grown steadily. He emphasized Vietnam is eager to deepen its economic engagement with Africa, a region where it has not yet fully explored opportunities, particularly in agriculture, industry, trade, energy, mining, digitalization, and green and energy transitions. He expressed his belief that Ndayishimiye's visit would further strengthen bilateral ties and that the two countries would work together to overcome difficulties, promote development, and improve the quality of life for their people.
Earlier, the Burundian president, accompanied by his spouse and a high-level delegation, visited the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum to pay their respects to the late president. They also laid a wreath at the Memorial Monument of Heroic Martyrs located on Buc Sun Street in Hanoi.
On Friday morning, a high-level delegation from the party and state of Vietnam, led by State President Lương Cường, and a government delegation led by Prime Minister Phie visited the Laos embassy to pay respect to Comrade Khamtai Siphandon, former chairman of the Laos People Revolutionary Party and former president of Laos.
Comrade Khamtai Siphandon served as a key leader of the first generation of the Lao People's Revolutionary Party's Central Committee. He pioneered the organization and implementation of the party's comprehensive and principled renovation policies and was a great, close friend of Vietnam's party, state, and people. State President Lương Cường offered condolences to the party, state, and fraternal people of Laos, stating, "We deeply mourn Comrade Khamtai Siphandon, former chairman of the Lao People's Revolutionary Party and former president of the Lao People's Democratic Republic. He was an outstanding leader, an excellent son of the Lao people, a steadfast revolutionary fighter who dedicated his life to the struggle for independence, freedom, the happiness of the people, and Laos' prosperous development." Also that morning, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính led a high-level Vietnamese government delegation to pay respects to Comrade Khamtai Siphandon. In the condolence book he wrote, "The passing of Comrade Khamtai Siphandon represents a profound loss for the party, state, and people of Laos. The leadership and people of Vietnam have lost a great friend and dear comrade who devoted himself to the revolutionary cause of the two fraternal countries, Laos and Vietnam, and to the special relationship between our nations. Comrade Khamtai Siphandon was a pioneering leader and steadfast revolutionary who dedicated his entire life to the Lao revolutionary cause."
Vietnam always valued historic friendship and multifaceted cooperation with Armenia. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn told Armenian President Vahan Khachaturian during a meeting in Yerevan on April 3rd local time. Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn extended congratulations to Armenia for its significant achievement, particularly in socio-economic development and its rising status on the global stage. The two leaders agree on the importance of promoting cooperation in the fields of defense, security, education, training, culture, sport, people-to-people exchange, and tourism. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn suggested that Armenia support Vietnam in training human resources in high technology while increasing student exchange programs to foster mutual learning, knowledge sharing, and cooperation for development. In response, President Khachaturian urged relevant agencies from both countries to implement favorable visa policies to facilitate travel for their citizens. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn stated that the Vietnamese party, state, and people have long appreciated the valuable support from the Armenian people during Vietnam's past struggle for national independence, as well as the current cause of national construction and development. The statement was made during the meeting with Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan in Yerevan on April 4th as part of his ongoing official visit to Armenia. He affirmed that Vietnam always cherished its traditional relationship and multi-faceted cooperation with Armenia and stand ready to serve as a bridge to strengthen cooperation between Armenia and other ASEAN member states. For his part, Prime Minister Pashinyan stressed that Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn visit is a significant importance not only in opening a new chapter for parliamentary cooperation, but also in creating momentum to expand bilateral relations across various sectors for the benefits of both nations. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn and his spouse visited the Yerevan State University on Friday as part of their official visit to Armenia. The top legislator expressed his delight at visiting the university, the academic heart, lighthouse of knowledge, and a source of pride not only for Armenia but also for the entire region.
Yerevan State University is known for training many of the country's leading scientists, managers, and cultural figures. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn emphasized that despite the geographical distance, Vietnam and Armenia share a strong bond rooted in history, culture, and resilience. Education has always been a bridge for friendship and cooperation, and in today's changing world, it remains key to sustainable development.
Vietnam prioritizes education, investing heavily in human development. The higher education system has advanced, focusing on innovation, quality, and global integration. Leading universities like Hanoi National University and Ho Chi Minh City National University are gaining recognition in global rankings for their focus on research and entrepreneurship.
The top legislator highlighted the shared tradition of valuing knowledge, morality, and talent between Vietnam and Armenia. Despite facing historical challenges, both nations have maintained their will to rise, with education seen as the key to the future. This commonality forms a strong foundation for deeper, more effective cooperation.
Promoting exchanges between Armenia and Vietnam's top universities will provide opportunities for the young generation to learn and strengthen cultural and scientific ties. We aim to encourage joint research and cooperation in areas like IT, high tech, and sciences, where both countries excel.
The National Assembly chairman stated that students at this university have a golden opportunity to gain valuable knowledge, skills, and achieve their aspirations. He encouraged Vietnamese students at the institution to focus on studies and research, becoming ambassadors of Vietnam's culture and people.
International integration is both a process of cooperations and competitions, or cooperate to compete and compete to cooperate, as articulated by Party General Secretary Tô Lâm. In a rapidly changing and unpredictable world, the resilience and internal strength of businesses are essentials to adapt proactively and stay prepared. This becomes even more significant as global trade faces growing uncertainties.
Vietnam's strategy of international integration, as noted in the writings of General Secretary Tô Lâm, emphasizes that Vietnam's global positioning must be built on a foundation of internal strength. This will ensure Vietnam stands firm regardless of global instability. 17 free trade agreements, FTAs, linking Vietnam to more than 60 key economies have not only provided significant advantages for businesses, but also enhanced their internal strength.
The changes we've seen over the years have helped train and strengthen businesses in the wood industry. Challenges may arise, but we have the backing of the party and state, which creates opportunities for development and helps us overcome these difficulties.
Vietnam's new development strategy emphasizes attracting FDI that prioritizes high-quality investments over cheap incentives. Leading private enterprises are being given opportunities to participate in critical national projects. These efforts contribute to building a global Vietnamese brand and ensure the country keeps pace with rapid technological advancements.
I am thrilled by the recent resolutions 57 and 59, and especially by the party chief's article on international integration. Thanks to the internet, social media platforms, and big data, we will change how we serve citizens and businesses. Digital transformation will be key in this. Vietnam is now recognized as a hub for chips and semiconductors.
The true significance of these efforts isn't just allowing major Vietnamese companies to tackle national challenges. More importantly, it's about developing small and medium-sized businesses and strengthening the domestic ecosystem. This is a trend many countries are embracing.
Vietnam has risen from a modest starting point to become one of the world's 34 largest economies.
As Party General Secretary stated, these three resolutions act as a strategic trio, unlocking resources and creating momentum. In an ever-changing global landscape, our internal strength will ultimately determine our position on the world stage.
Looking ahead to 2030, the world is undergoing rapid change, and as Vietnam strengthens its internal resilience, it will be well positioned to enter a new era, an era of national growth and resilience in a multifaceted, ever-changing global environment.
Coming up next on VTV News, Vietnam proposes U.S. tax postponement for trade talks. And WTO warns of global trade decline. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính cited decisions on Friday to establish a working group on enhancing cooperations and proactively adapting to the U.S. economic and trade policy adjustment. Deputy Prime Minister Bùi Thanh Sơn will lead this working group. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister Hồ Đức Phước and leaders of ministries and branches met with association, businesses, and diplomatic agencies on Friday afternoon to discuss solutions related to the U.S. new tariffs. In the coming time, the Vietnamese government will continue to increase the purchase of raw materials and equipment from the United States. Therefore, the Vietnamese government has proposed that the United States consider postponing the impositions of taxes in order to negotiate, aiming to ensure tax fairness. Despite global economic fluctuation, Vietnam's export grew steadily in the first quarter, reaching $102.8 billion, up 10.6% compared to last year, with a trade surplus of $3.15 billion. The processing industry led this growth. To sustain momentum, many enterprises are proactively adjusting their export strategies in the second quarter.
One company has exported nearly 2,000 tons of electric wires and cables since early this year, earning over $13.5 million, an 18% increase from last year. Its success comes from actively expanding into new markets, a key focus for upcoming exports.
Southeast Asian markets are already quite familiar, so we're now working with African ambassadors and trade counselors to tap into the promising African market, where rapid infrastructure growth offers great potential.
Processed industrial exports hit $87.5 billion, remaining the main growth driver. However, businesses face challenges from U.S. reciprocal taxes in the second quarter. In response, the Vietnamese government is actively pursuing economic diplomacy and negotiations to seek fair adjustments, giving businesses hope to overcome these hurdles.
We believe that with strong support from the government and relevant ministries, we are fully capable of achieving this year's goal.
In the first quarter of 2025, Vietnam's trade grew positively with a continued surplus, reflecting stronger global competitiveness, laying a solid foundation for future export growth.
To diversify export markets, we can focus on renewing major ones like China, the EU, and the US by increasing shipments of high-value, branded products, aiming to raise export value even with lower volumes.
The stronger export growth of domestic over FDI enterprises signals improving internal strength. To sustain this momentum through 2025, businesses must stay proactive through enhancing technology and expanding markets.
The United States has rolled out a 46% tariff for all Vietnamese exports. The timber industry has been hit particularly hard by these policies. In response, Vietnamese wood enterprises are actively expanding into new markets while counting on diplomatic negotiations between the two governments.
Over 90% of this company's furniture products are exported to the U.S. market. To navigate the challenges posed by the tariff hike, the company is enhancing modern production technologies.
More than 90% of our products are made from Vietnamese raw materials. We emphasize this to prevent misunderstandings.
By increasing investments in machinery and technology, we reduce labor dependency, boost productivity, and lower costs. This would help offset any potential tariff increases imposed by the U.S.
Vietnam exports over $9 billion worth of furniture products to the U.S. annually, while also being the second largest consumer of American wood. In recent years, the Vietnamese government has implemented various measures to address trade imbalances between the two countries.
Vietnam imports $300 million USD worth of round and sawn timber from the U.S. each year at a 0% tariff, whereas processed wood products face tariffs of 15 to 25%. In a timely move, the authorities have successfully brought this tariff rate down to 0%. We hope the U.S. government will also consider a fair and balanced approach.
The Vietnamese government must take proactive steps in negotiating fair tariff policies with the U.S. Enterprises should also leverage free trade agreement.
In addition to strengthening trade defense mechanisms, the timber industry is diversifying its markets, particularly in Asia and the Middle East, as part of its strategy to reach an export revenue target of over $18 billion this year.
The World Trade Organization's WTO has issued a warning that the U.S. tariff plan could result in a 1% reduction in global merchandise trade this year. The WTO has called on these member countries to manage the rising tensions responsibly, warning against escalating the situations into a full-scale trade war with a cycle of retaliatory measures that could further harm global trade. Currently, 74% of global trade operates under the WTO's most favored nation principle, which prohibits countries from discriminating between their trading partners. China has announced the imposition of a 34% additional tariff on all goods imported from the United States, effective April 10th. The China's Ministry of Commerce stated that this move is a direct response to the 34% tariff imposed on Chinese goods by the U.S. President Donald Trump, which was announced just Thursday. In addition, China has filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization, WTO, challenging the U.S. tariff. Under the new tariff policy, the U.S. is set to apply a base 10% tariff on all imported goods starting April 5th. Furthermore, the U.S. will impose additional reciprocal tariff on goods from dozens of countries and territories starting on April 9th. As a result, China faces a 34% tariff, which when combined with the 20% tariff already imposed earlier, bringing the total tariff on Chinese goods exported to the U.S. to a whopping 54%. Coming up next, Ninh Thuận pushed to end temporary housing. And 170 giant tortoises released to Galapagos Islands. Over $108.5 million has been allocated across Vietnam to eliminate temporary and dilapidated homes nationwide, with the goal is to finish the program 6 months before deadline, which is June 30th this year. In areas like Ninh Thuận, the campaign 90 Days and Nights to remove temporary housing has gained incredible momentum, inspiring community-driven support to transform lives.
In Tup La, one of 5 villages in Phuoc Chin Commune, Thuận Bắc District, Ninh Thuận Province, local Raglai people are witnessing an extraordinary transformation. Proper houses are rising from the ground, with people coming to and fro with building materials, excitedly completing these buildings.
I am happy with the replacement of the dilapidated homes.
The campaign, 90 Days and Nights to Erase Temporary Housing, aims to complete 2,000 homes by June 30th.
We've mobilized all available resources to build 2,000 homes. Our target is clear. By June 30th, we will finish the task of eliminating temporary homes in our province.
Each family benefiting from the program receives $3,100 USD from the provincial budget and the Temporary Housing Fund to build a new home. Many families also contribute their own funds to ensure their new homes meet their needs.
Everyone contributes what they can. We started in March, and now all the houses have at least reached the foundation stage.
Every community in Ninh Thuận is closely monitoring the process to ensure that the new homes are truly safe and livable.
What hidden treasures could be buried beneath the Thames River in London? Question will be answered with a new exhibition showcasing discoveries made by treasure hunters in the Thames. The London Docklands Museum is displaying over 350 items, ranging from Roman statues to century-old children's toys and even vintage wine glasses that once graced dining tables. All of these artifacts offer a unique glimpse into the historical development of the city. Some items were deliberately thrown into the river, such as a sawed-off handgun likely used by criminals. The exhibition also features medals won by tennis player Peter Fleming at Wimbledon. Among the most unique items are a 18th century false tooth and a bronze sword dating back to 1800 BC. A homecoming ceremony is happening in Galapagos Island as 170 juvenile giant tortoises were released after a period of careful rearing and health checks. The tortoises are now home, ready to fulfill their vital ecological roles as ecosystem engineers.
At least 170 captive-bred Condolences vicina tortoises, a species of giant tortoises, were released into a Galapagos island in Ecuador in late March, according to a statement from the Galapagos National Park released on Thursday, April the 2nd. They were bred and raised in captivity at a breeding center on Isabella Island, the largest of the islands, and released to incorporate them into the ecosystem in the southern part of the territory.
When the tortoises reach an adequate size, they are returned to their natural habitat, and this is what we call the repatriation of the species.
The tortoises, aged between 4 and 5 years, had to reach a weight of 2 kilos and a size of 30 centimeters before being released and underwent quarantine and veterinary evaluation.
Giant tortoises have faced several threats over time, and their population have decreased, which is why the Galapagos National Park Directorate, as a conservation strategy, established breeding centers where we can, through various interventions from scientific and technical point of view, control their reproduction and growth in captivity.
In its press release, the Galapagos National Park reported that it will continue to release tortoises from the breeding centers to natural areas of the archipelago to strengthen endangered populations, stating that thousands of giant tortoises have returned to their natural habitat thanks to these initiatives.
And now, as usual, let's continue with the weather forecast. And that's it for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch the program, you can log on to VTVgo.vn or download our mobile application VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.